That's the best team in baseball history as we see Jazz go down. And he's going to challenge, guys.
He's going to win it again.
Pretty confident he was jogging to first base.
He just went to first base.
Major League Baseball's plan to test robot umpires during spring training across 13 stadiums is a move aimed at refining the automated ball and strike system for a potential 2026 rollout. And this technology that's already being used in AAA ballparks promises precision. But with precision comes change, and perhaps no position will feel that change more than catcher. Catching as we know it could be heading for a revolution. For years, the art of framing, manipulating borderline pitches to steal strikes has been a cornerstone of the position. Elite framers like Jose Trevino and Martin Maldonado have made their careers from the ability to turn balls into strikes with the slightest twitch of the wrist. But what happens when that skill becomes obsolete? Renowned pitching and catching coach Tom House says if framing is taken off the table, you're going to see a lot more emphasis on blocking, throwing, mechanics, and athleticism. The goal will be to create catchers who are truly versatile. If ABS does become the standard, think about the ripple effects that'll hit training programs, college facilities, and even youth leagues. You'd go to camps that spend hours refining your framing techniques, and now that'll pivot to something else. Blocking drills could become the new bread and butter for catching instruction. The ability to anticipate the ball out of the pitcher's hand, anticipate wild movement, and control rebounds with precision will be prioritized. Training devices that simulate wild pitches from various angles and speeds will become commonplace. Arm strength and throwing accuracy will also take center stage. Catchers who can't prove their value by stealing strikes will have to prove their worth by shutting down the running game. Long toss programs, specialized throwing drills, and footwork refinement will be top priorities. But one of the most interesting things that can really evolve is the catcher's overall position in game calling. Without the ability to manipulate the strike zone, a catcher's skill in handling the pitching staff and calling an effective game can become more important. The best catchers will be the ones who can guide pitchers, even when the umpires are machines. And retired all-star catcher, the man Buster Posey said, "There's a big mental aspect to it. If you know you can't manipulate the strike zone, you have to be even better at understanding what pitches work against what hitters." I could see teams doubling down on teaching catchers how to read swings and adjust on the fly. And what about scouting and current market value? If ABS becomes the norm, scouts and executives will need to rethink how they evaluate catchers. For years, elite framing ability could make or break a prospect's draft position. But if framing is no longer relevant, the criteria for what makes a great catcher will have to change. Jeff Kingston, a high-ranking MLB executive, said, "Scouts are going to have to adjust big time. We used to put a lot of weight on framing metrics, but now we're going to have to pay even more attention to blocking, throwing, and game calling. The data we're collecting is going to look a lot different." And from a financial standpoint, this could change how catchers are valued in free agency and contract negotiations. Framing first guys like Trevino and Maldonado might find themselves with less bargaining power, while catchers known for their throwing and leadership skills could see their stock rise. There's also a very real possibility that this change can open the door for more offensive-minded catchers. If the most defensively valuable aspect of the position disappears, front offices may be more willing to invest in players who can provide value at the plate. We may see more teams willing to roll the dice on a bat-first catcher. Ben Cherington, general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, said, "We may see more teams willing to roll the dice on bat-first catchers. If you're no longer sacrificing runs because of your framing, why not focus on a guy who can put runs on the board?" Even game calling ability could suddenly be worth millions. As teams continue investing in pitch calling technology and advanced scouting reports, the catchers who can best digest and apply the information in-game could command a premium. This is a continuation of what Ben Cherington said. If you got a guy that can handle a pitching staff and call a smart game, you're still going to want him, even if it's not the greatest hitter. But if he can hit on top of that, now you're talking about a real asset. So what does the perfect catcher in the future look like? If robot umpires do become the norm, today's emphasis on soft hands and manipulation will be replaced by a far more dynamic skill set. First and foremost, the elite catchers of the future will be athletes. Blocking balls will be a non-negotiable skill, especially as pitchers throw harder and have more unpredictable movement than ever. And let's not forget about arm strength. With stolen bases on the rise, catchers will need cannons capable of shutting down ambitious base runners. Pop times will matter more than ever, but accuracy will be just as critical. But the biggest X factor may be game calling and leadership. The best catchers will have the brains to match their brawn. They'll be expected to work more closely with the pitchers and coaches, memorizing scouting reports, studying swings, making mid-game adjustments with machine-like precision. Those who can master that skill set will be worth their weight in gold. Here's another take from Buster Posey on this. If you take framing away, you're going to find out real quick who's actually running the game from behind the plate. The guys who can think 2 steps ahead of hitters are the ones who are going to keep their jobs. And then there's the bat. If defensive metrics shift away from framing, catchers who can hit will see their stock rise. The days of sub-200 hitters surviving solely because of their framing prowess might be numbered. So what do we do? Is it time to adapt the way we approach the catching position? Catching is already one of the most demanding positions in sports. If robot umpires become the standard, that demand may shift, but it won't lighten. In fact, it might just get harder. Coaches and organizations will need to adjust their training programs. Scouts will have to redefine what makes a catcher valuable. And most importantly, catchers themselves will need to evolve or risk being left behind. But one thing's for sure, the position isn't dying, it's just changing. And as history has proven time and time again, baseball has a way of evolving but somehow staying the same. The best catchers will still be leaders, still be warriors, and still be the ones calling the shots, just with a different set of tools. So if you've gotten this far in the video, thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious what people are thinking about this one. I personally have a son who's a catcher, and I am a coach. I coach him. I coach players that are catchers. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to adapt what I do with them and see what direction my son's training needs to go as well if he decides to pursue the game at a high level. So going to be very interesting. As always, thanks for listening. I will talk to you later.